Has Clemson forgot how to win? Silly question. Some of you might even say that's a dumb one. Review this past season and even parts of last season when we had to play someone with a pulse. Maybe it's not that dumb of a question whatsoever. Hey, I'm going to jump in here. I'm Brian. I'm not Bobby. Thanks for joining me. I've had a lot of people subscribe recently. Unfortunately, the losses has brought a lot of views, and I'll take them. I am glad to see all of you on here. Hope you do subscribe. Also, if you want to support the channel on a monthly basis, there's a join button below the video. Now, the ABCs of football are quite simple. That's why they're called the ABCs of football. For instance, I have two nephews, and they watch my videos all the time, and they're going to know that I'm talking about them now. So they're grinning like idiots. But they both just finished up tackle football in 10 and under football. And I hear what their coaches tell them. They tell them things like, take care of the football, play your assignment, stay in the game, don't get caught off guard, take care of the football, play your assignment. It's the same thing over and over and over. But when you get to someone like Clemson, a team who has 40-something plus 4- and 5-star players, you would think that that would be second nature to them. You would think that that's like, duh, we know that. Until they fumble the ball like crazy, until they turn over the football through the air. I mean, good grief, the difference in the game yesterday was an interception. If you look at the defensive play yesterday, NC State barely broke 200 yards, and you got to consider that they had that 170-plus yard play to freshman phenom KC Concepcion. Other than that, they had a bunch of plays that equaled only, right off the top of my head, about 130 yards, 125 yards, somewhere in there. And they still lose. When you also consider that a lot of these players are from programs where they don't lose that much. Cade Klubnik, from what I can remember, never lost a football game in high school. Okay, that's one thing to be said if he was playing 1A football in the state of South Carolina. But no, he was playing at Westlake, one of the most well-known, big-time high school football teams in the country. You say, well Cade hadn't played. Let's go to someone who's been with the program since the last national championship. I believe he is 6 years senior, Xavier Thomas. Xavier Thomas went to IMG, and I have this weird feeling, correct me if I'm wrong, IMG just doesn't lose that much historically. A lot of these guys are coming from programs where if they lose 2 games in a season, it's eyebrow raising. And that's what makes them elite. That's what makes their teammates who are playing for Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, Michigan, etc., makes them elite too. So guys who are this talented, who's probably been treated very well and even given some special treatment because they were really good football players in high school. It happens. That's life. Get over it. The truth is, they don't know how to process all this losing. They don't. Clemson lost 3 games all last season. Notre Dame, South Carolina, and Tennessee. 2 of those games were commanding losses, a 17-point loss to Tennessee. Now, that game was a lot closer until you got into the fourth quarter. Notre Dame absolutely drugged Clemson from the word go. South Carolina, it was a 1-point ball game. But now you move into this year, the first game of the year, a 3-touchdown loss where you own the stat sheet, except for the most important stat: wins, losses, more points than the other guy. You open up against Charleston Southern, itty bitty school from Charleston, comes in, pick six, your quarterback. They were leading at one time. Charleston Southern has no business leading Clemson at any time at Death Valley with the talent that we have that's being wasted. You could incarcerate our entire first and second string, and our third and fourth string should still commandingly handle Charleston Southern. But that wasn't the deal. I can keep going down these games. I can continue to talk about the blunders of the season. But if there's one thing that we know that good, solid football fundamental says, take care of the football. How do you teach that? No, I'm serious. Like, you would think that by this level, at a school like Clemson, that taking care of the football is kind of like showing up on the field with your pants on. You know you're supposed to wear your pants. Should someone tell you to wear your pants? Should someone have to tell you to put your helmet on? No, because that's a given. That is my question. Have they forgot how to win? Because they're just not losing. They got hammered by Duke. They got embarrassed by giving up a 10-point lead to a true freshman quarterback at Miami. And this game yesterday, they were down at one time 24-7. Notice also, real quick, that they opened up the playbook, quickly got back into contention, and then went back to playing scared football. Have they forgot how to win? Now, when I ask this and when I criticize the team, I mean this as a team. I'm not talking about the players and the coaches. I'm talking about the whole conglomerate. You tell me. We're seeing things out of players, once again, who they've played at unbelievable high schools where losing 2 games would make the local town or local city go crazy. Like, you don't lose at some of these schools. When you think about schools like St. John's Bosco or Mater Dei, you don't think losing. Well, they're sure to have a really bad season. Keep telling yourself that just to make you feel better. I know locally, Daniel High School, the high school that produced Nuke Hopkins, Shaq Lawson, I believe Jarvis Jenkins. This school, I think they're now 4A. I can't remember because the reclassifications in the state of South Carolina, and they still move them over the past few years. They've moved them. But out of the past 3 years, they've won 2 state championships, and last year was up for a 3rd one. And this year, unless something happens, they're going to most likely win a state championship this year. And that's an itty-bitty area in the state of South Carolina. When Daniel football is not good, everybody in the upstate of South Carolina is shocked. My point in this, these players are not used to losing like this. Are they shell-shocked? Has their mind, are they in a place of disbelief? This wasn't supposed to happen. I repeat, most of these players, if they have been on Clemson's team for, well, except before this, any time before this year, even with last year being a letdown, I mean, you just didn't lose to Notre Dame. You got your crotch kicked by Notre Dame. So stop trying to make that game go away. That was not a close game. You've been playing. Let's just talk about last year. different coordinator, but basically all the same positions coaches, especially on the offensive side. Folks, if you want to troubleshoot a problem, you have to go to the facts. You can't act like, oh, we just magically win. Because if we just magically win, and it's like there's football gods who gets medicated enough to smile on you, or you offer them some type of odd sacrifice for them to give you wins, then what that means is coaching doesn't matter. So therefore, Clemson's coaches shouldn't be paid at all because it's really not up to them. Clemson should stop focusing on recruiting, because if it just kind of happens, it means quality of your players doesn't matter. You and I both know that's a lie. We know that coaching matters. We know that recruiting the best players in matters. So, have they forgot how to win? I'm asking that to the coaches. I could care less about your strategy. I have met some very smart people in business who can sit there confidently, well-spoken, and almost condescendingly explain why they do what they do, and they fail. We all fail when we try certain things. I get that. But no, I'm saying they just fail. There was one guy I used to work with at another organization. He had failed over every department he had ever been over. It was a big company. And the joke was, so-and-so, where's he? They put him director of what now? Every department he was over, he failed. It wasn't like it was his first gig. Nope, he failed everywhere he went. But if you met the guy, you would think that you were talking to Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. You were not. You were talking to a failure. But he would be more than happy to sit down, pop off some industry lingo, confidently talk about how much money he made, when I don't know if he had pictures of somebody doing something really bad and he was blackmailing someone. That would be my only guess. That would be my only guess of why he had the job that he had. But you need to understand, folks, that just because some of these guys are coaching at a big school does not mean that they are actually that great of a coach. Sorry. So my question is, between some of these coaches who just, this is not the time for them. They were given the keys to a race car and they didn't know how to handle it. People who have, and one more analogy, people who have hopped into a race car and they're like, wow, back in the day, me and my buddy, we got my daddy's, he had a Corvette, so we got the car up over 120 miles per hour. That's nothing in a race car. That's nothing in a race car. Hence the name race car. But you talk to someone who is a real driver, they'll tell you that a car takes on a whole different dynamic the faster you go. And there's somewhere around 180 miles per hour that the dynamics of a car changes dramatically. There's something around that number that in that area that even some of the physical reactions of the car versus how it handles is different. So you take a guy who maybe in 5 to 10 years would be a really good coach in his position, but you have him now running a unit, a squad, an offensive line, a wide receiver room, a running backs room, whatever it may be, and he is not cut out for the job, he will wreck that talent. And I know this sounds ridiculous, but I am questioning between the poor management of the talent, the poor, let me rephrase that. Absolutely no development of the talent. And now, because of that, players, they've been dropping balls left and right. They've been turning over the ball left and right. Now these players, they're shocked. They've never lost like this before. They wasn't supposed to lose like this because they were coming to Clemson, the brand. Excellence. Have they forgot how to win? That's a good question. Move the ball down the field. You can't score a touchdown. What? You can't score a touchdown. Your defense went out and put on a clinic yesterday, held a team to under 200, or not under, it was like 203, 204 yards total for the game. Held them to 9 first downs all game. And you lose? That's simply unexplainable. Get mad at me if you will, but this is not losing ball games. A ball game or maybe 2 ball games in a season by maybe a walk-off field goal, or maybe a team comes in really hot and plays you really, really hard, and they just get the best of you on that day. And you go back to the quote that Bobby Dodd said that anyone on any day could win a game. That makes us all feel good and stuff. But I ask you this question: should the local Division III school that plays wherever you live, near wherever you live, should they beat the Georgia Bulldogs in Athens? Even if you want to be defiant because you disagree with me, take your hands, put it on each side of your head, and go, no, because they shouldn't. 100 times out of 100 times, the Georgia Bulldogs, even if the Georgia Bulldogs went to their teeny tiny middle school field, a Division III football team, the Georgia Bulldogs should ram their heads into the ground all 100 times. Why? Talent. Sorry. Talent. Here's some more inconvenient or inconvenient. Is it inconvenient or inconvenient? I don't know. Truths. I used to work in fine dining. I used to work at it for a very well-known person in the upstate of South Carolina. And a buddy of mine wanted a side job. He needed the extra money. I got him the job there. And so it was great. We got to work together. We got to chat. We also, working in the restaurant business at the time, he and I would, kind of lighten the mood because, well, it's the restaurant business. It's not always easy. One day, this old man, I'm talking about old. We're talking about, I don't know. I won't say old, but he was in his 70s. He walks in with probably a mid-30s, late 30s lady. I'm not going to describe her, but you know exactly what I'm alluding to. How did he get her? It's called money. It's not love. It's money. You say, why bring this up? It's an unfortunate fact. People get upset. People get squeamish. People get upset. They're like, what? Why are you even bringing that up? That makes me feel ick. Yet it still happens. See, Clemson fans, you can't get out of this. I can't get out of it. Clemson losing a couple of games this year, maybe losing to Florida State because Florida State's finally turning the corner. Okay. But losing by 3 touchdowns to Duke, you can't explain that away. Barely beating Wake Forest 17-12 on homecoming? You can't explain that away. You can't explain away how Tyler Van Dyke, a guy that's been playing for 3 years at the University of Miami, who was the starter, sitting on the bench, they walked out, a true freshman? He was down by 10. That was the kill shot. You take him down. Clemson gets the easy win. Nope. Miami beats you. And they were on a 2-game skid. Then you go up to NC State where you're a 10-point favorite playing a guy who's about to start his 3rd game. Just his 3rd game. And his last game he played against Duke. And they didn't have Riley Leonard. They started Bellin, who only threw 12 passes the entire game. They only completed 4 passes the entire game. You want to do the math there? Divide 4 or 12 passes by 4 quarters. That's 3 passes per quarter. Only 4 completions. Divide that by 4. Only averaging 1 completion per quarter. They still beat NC State and beat them by 21 points. That team that got beat by 21 by Duke, with only their second, with a quarterback starting only his second collegiate game, he just beat Clemson. You can pull for your team. You can love your team. And you should. I love my team. That's why I'm so passionate about it. If I didn't care, I'd be as good as the old lady you see in Hobby Lobby wearing a Clemson t-shirt on a Saturday because she thinks Clemson's playing. And it's June. Go Tigers. She doesn't have a dog in the fight. She doesn't know the players. She doesn't keep up with recruiting. She doesn't pay attention to these. And I'm not an NFL fan, but I do pay attention to the players who goes to the NFL. She doesn't drive down to the stadium like I have several times, walk my son around the stadium during the summer when no one's there. I give a care. That's why I get irritated. If something means something to you, you're not going to just be passive about it. My question is, have they forgot how to win? That's a very good question. I feel bad for the players. We will find out this week. I will be putting up a video predicting the Clemson Notre Dame game. And I will tell you this as well. Clemson is only a 3-point underdog. I'm sorry, I looked in my comment section. It threw my mind. Clemson and Notre Dame plays 12 o'clock next Saturday on ABC. I'm surprised, as bad as Clemson's playing, they're not on PBS. The ticket prices for the Clemson Notre Dame game has dropped significantly. Last week, nosebleeds at Clemson, $144 per ticket. I checked on Ticketmaster this morning. You could get tickets in the upper deck, $80 a ticket. I'm not going to be able to go to the game because my son has a flag football game at 11. So 11, then the game starts, and I live an hour away. So I'm not going to be able to be in attendance that day. But Notre Dame is hitting on all cylinders. And they're still only a 3-point favorite coming into Death Valley. I'll give you that preview and prediction this coming week. Just a couple of quick shout outs here in the comment section. I see a bunch of people in here. Thank you so much for hopping in. I see a bunch of people who has joined the channel. By the way, if you've not joined, there's a join button below. If you don't see it on your iPhone, it's because Apple, for some reason, they don't show the join button. I don't know, but it's either $3 or $5 per month. You say either, yeah, literally, I have a $3 tier, $5 tier. You won't even miss that. But if you like what you're hearing, you want to support the channel monthly, you can do that. Sooner History, he's in here. He supports the channel monthly. Midlands Directory's in here. Athens Tiger is in here. I'm seeing him. We got a couple of super chats in here. Shuffley 21, $5. How do we get a world famous offensive line coach to come take the program? That's never been good there. That offensive line that we had during the Trevor Lawrence and the Deshaun Watson championship was pretty doggone good. Sam Pittman might be fired from Arkansas anytime, but you can't blame him, or you can't blame him. I mean, it's Arkansas. I'd go after Sam Pittman possibly, but I hope so. Thank you for supporting the channel, my friend. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for the donation. Dabo needs to face it. His Clemson dynasty is over. We need to change to the whole Clemson coaching staff. Michael Fornbacher, my buddy out in Las Vegas, $10 donation. Thank you for supporting the show. Michael, here's the thing. I've called for a revamp of the especially the offensive position coaches. It's time to go and hire the best because you can hire the best. you make a list of 5 to 10 offensive positions coaches per unit. So 5 to 10 wide receivers coach, 5 to 10 offensive line coaches who are just top notch. And you flash a bunch of money in front of them and try to get them to come to Clemson. That's what you do. And I've said this, and a lot of people says that just sounds like you're making it sound too easy. I can tell you from someone who took a new job last year that there was a company who flashed enough money in front of my face, and it was a way better job. Not only way better job, I got to work from home full time, as to where my other job didn't. They wanted me to come back in the office for no reason, just because they wanted me to. But once they shook that money in front of my face, it was a good job. I took it. And folks, it is that simple. You go find the best position coach and you hire them. So, Michael, thank you for supporting the channel as you always do. I really do appreciate it. But I agree with you. The dynasty is over. Still Gamble, my old buddy in here, who supports the show. Shane Bentley. Clemson hadn't really been the Clemson of old after losing to UGA in 21. I don't think anyone was expecting this type of season from Clemson. Thank you for supporting the channel, Shane. I appreciate your donation. That's really kind and generous of you. I'm going to disagree with you. I think it was before then. I think that the arrogance started to set in somewhere the season after we won the national championship. I think there was some complacency there. But you remember Tony Elliott came out and said we forsook the run in the national championship against LSU. Everybody forgets that Clemson was leading that game pretty commandingly. I'd say commandingly. They were winning by 10 points with 9 minutes left in the first half. And it was poor coaching. I mean, how do you forget to run one of the most explosive players in college football? How do you do that? And you got T. Higgins and you got Trevor running things. But I think where it really showed that we were going downhill, and you can go back and look at my old Bobby Durkins videos. I said this. That loss to Ohio State in the playoffs, that showed that we were not prepared to coach anymore. Well, Tony, he was under, that worldwide virus at the time protocol. I don't even know if I can say it on here without getting some type of penalty, but I'm sorry. Offense looked a lot like Tony's, but since something's been up then. And then that year you were sitting there going, what is going on? Things really, but Clemson got out, they had the lucky game against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech should have beat Clemson, there's a lot of things, but a lot of people sees that 21 season as a big turning point. But for me, I see the season before it, a season or two before that there was some problems, some complacency, I believe. So thank you for supporting the channel. Rufus Jackson. Dabo got lucky to find 2 generational quarterbacks from the state of Georgia. He's a trash coach, and when he fails, he blames everyone else around him. Well, first of all, Rufus, thank you for supporting the channel. I really do appreciate it. I don't think that he got lucky. I don't think that he's a trash coach. I think a couple of things. Clemson really made a great push for both of those guys, and Deshaun and Trevor liked the culture that he had built at the time. And it did produce 6 consecutive playoffs. And it did produce, and one of those playoffs, neither one of those quarterbacks was playing. In between them was Kelly Bryant. So he got them to the college football playoff. What I do think is that, yes, those guys are fantastic. What I do think, though, is that he used to make the best hires and then he let those hires do their jobs. He has hired people and tried to give them the same chance that Terry Don gave him. And that is a very noble thing to do. The problem is you cannot, and I know I've said this a lot, and I'm not going to stop saying it, folks. It's not going anywhere. It is the truth. You cannot have your offensive coaching staff filled with a lot of guys, first-time coaches, and then guys who's never coached this level before. You can't do that and expect success. And I think this season, hopefully, is going to wake him up to the error of his ways. It's great to give people a chance and pass along the opportunity to them, pass it on, but he can't do that. Rufus just threw in another comment and another support for the channel. Thank you for the support. I really do appreciate it. And then why was he blaming bandwagon fans last week? Okay. So, great question. I want to break that down. Everybody who wants to stick around, this video was only going to be about 15 or 20 minutes long. I have 137 in here. Please, I'm just going to make one plea to you. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe. It's free. You take your thumb, hit the subscribe button, boom. If you hadn't hit the thumbs up, hit that. And if you want to join, there's a join button below the video. You can support the channel or a super thanks like these guys are doing. Then why was he blaming bandwagon fans? Okay, for some of you who maybe forgot about it or don't know, it will be 2 weeks ago from tomorrow night. So it was 2 weeks ago. He said 1.5% of the fan base is bandwagon fans. And it was along the lines of 1.5% of the fan base are basically bandwagoners, and the other 90 bandwagoners, I think that's how you say it. And then the other 98.5% is great. But what he said is, and for anybody who wants to hang around, Dabo blames fans. Let's go to this. This is via Rubbing the Rock. I cannot find that. There was an article or a couple of weeks ago, just basically what he did. He said that those 1.5% of fans are basically bandwagon fans. And that they're just mad and they're upset and that they were not fans anyway, and that they're just angry and they're stirring up trouble among the other fans. Now, there's a couple of ways we could take this. We could take that he actually means that there are some people who are just bandwagon fans. They don't know football and they go and they run their mouth and they're stirring up trouble. I agree with you. Go look at my comment boards on all my videos. Just scroll. I had one yesterday on my video that I did on the loss. And by the way, this video right here got a ton. It's still getting a ton of views right now. But I had someone come on immediately and went off on me for something that I said that made pretty clear. So I can understand people looking at Sweeney and taking things too far. And he's talking about them. I get that. But the criticism that Sweeney was receiving, unfortunately, was legitimate. Why does the offense look so bad if we have this high-powered offensive coordinator? Why are we gaining 500 yards, 400, 450 in a game with more first downs, with way more time of possession than in some cases than our opponents, and we're still losing? Why are we playing close with Wake Forest? Did you see what Florida State did to them yesterday? Oh my goodness. Why? That is not bandwagon fans. That's questions you're going to get from people who's been pulling for Clemson since they can remember. Said this 100 times. I can remember when Danny Ford was fired. That's how long I've been pulling for the Tigers. Big Red says even bandwagon fans give money. That is the name of the game. That's true. You'll have bandwagoners that'll show. Listen to me. Listen to me. I said this earlier. Notre Dame, the tickets to the Notre Dame game in the nosebleed section, like 3 weeks ago, like $250, $275, somewhere in there. In the nosebleeds. You can go on Ticketmaster right now. It's $80 and $90. There are people who they know nothing about Clemson. But they would have paid $4 and $5 and $7 and $900 and up to $1,000+ to come to that Clemson Notre Dame game just because Clemson's good and they wanted to see Clemson play Notre Dame. If Clemson was good. If Clemson hadn't fallen off the mountain. If Clemson hadn't flipped the car and it's still flipping like some type of weird comedy TV show. Where the car just keeps flipping. It's like physics says that has to stop. And it just keeps flipping and it becomes hilarious. Those people spend a lot of money. They'll go buy Peter Millar $150 polo to show up at the game. So you have to take the good with the bad sometimes. Well, folks, listen, I'm going to let you all go. Before I do, I will throw this out there. My hope is that if it takes us losing the rest of these games, I mean literally losing every game for the rest of the season, if it takes that to make Dabo go, look, I'm going out and I'm going to hire the best position coaches, which is not going to guarantee a national championship, folks. You need to hear that. It's not going to guarantee 10 wins next season because you still got to work a lot of crap out of these players' minds and out of the way they've been developed. Or let me rephrase that, the lack thereof. You have to remember that. That's not going to happen immediately. But it's going to make you competitive and it's going to make you a top team again and within the next few years. If it takes him losing the rest of the games for him to go out and make those hires at multiple levels throughout the program, maybe even on the defensive side of the football, so be it. I'm a long-term guy. I'm not a short-term guy. And this program has been going backwards for the past few years, but it was just our opponents were that bad. And we had some really good, maybe some former tendencies that had kind of bled over from former coaches that were here, and maybe some players that were still left over from the championship team that was driving the car straighter, if that makes sense. It was making us attain goals. It was still permeating through the new guys to where the new guys were still feeling the energy of that dominance. But it's gone, folks. And now they're 4-4, 2-4 in the conference. If it takes us losing the rest of the season, God forbid, even to South Carolina, for it to shake him enough to go make the proper hires at every level, right down to Waterboy, I'll guarantee you we'll be back in the playoffs within 2 to 3 years. I guarantee it. But if you don't, get used to this. Get used to it. Folks, thank you so much for coming in here and supporting the channel. I really do appreciate it. I'm going to have to let all of you go. You take care of yourselves. And Rufus, I see you donated to the channel again. Thank you for that. Dabo needs to go. He's behind the current set. He does not need to go, sir. I appreciate you supporting the channel, but no, he does not need to go. I think that he needs to make those changes. What I said, and before you know it, he'll be dominating everybody else like he was dominating everybody. I'm sorry, I disagree. I disagree with that take, folks. Take care of yourself. I'll be uh, I'll be looking out for you hopefully in the next couple of days as I do a preview on the Notre Dame game. You take care of yourself. I'll catch you later as always. Good or bad, go Tigers.